morning to you, Kenyan citizens. Welcome. This is Beyond the Headlines, so make sure you get to understand what is happening in our country in details and how it's affecting our future, how it's affecting you as a day-to-day person, as a common mwananchi. In today's studio, I'm not alone. I'm joined with Kimani wa Kimani. A very good morning to you.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm very grateful. I'm glad to be in Mizpah TV this morning. As I say hi to Nakurians, County 032, wherever they are. It's a weekday moment, it's a dusty moment, but sinisisi to enjoy matope.
Yeah, I know,
so let's enjoy this kind of weather as well. And we give thanks to our Almighty God, our Creator, for giving us this particular day as we end this good week.
Yeah, anything new in Nakuru?
Well, Nakuru, maybe we cannot talk about the political weekend that was there. We had a few attacks here and there, political attacks, or rather perceived political attacks, where we had the senator from Kericho who came with a full brigade of his tribesmen in Nakuru, and they didn't augur so well with the current governor, and she had to respond. And I wish to remind Nakurians that we are a cosmopolitan county, and we need to live in harmony, peace, and unity. And that's what God envisaged when He put us in this particular good county of ours. And I wish also to commend our governor, because since she took over office, she has scooped several awards. I know of 3 in terms of compliance in diversity and at workplace, where she has been very inclusive of all the communities that work and live here in Nakuru. So it's an issue that is worth cultivating. We need to cultivate good harmony amongst the communities that are here in Nakuru as we pursue development projects here and there. And one thing I'm very keen in is the way Governor Kihika has been distributing, or the county government of Nakuru has been distributing its development projects. We have when you look at the health sector, when she does one level 4 hospital in Salga, she does another one in Kuresoi North. She does another one in Naivasha. She does another one in Subukia, and that kind of distribution takes care of all the communities that are living here in Nakuru. The same happens to our ECD classrooms. They are well distributed across the entire county, and that is a good projection.
So we can say generally, probably people should emulate that.
People should emulate, and actually they should come to Nakuru for benchmarking.
They should.
I doubt they are doing it in Kericho or even in Wasindigishu, where Senator with this Cheruiyot came from.
All right. Now let's get over to the key things that have been happening in our country, because a lot has happened, especially for this week. And let me start by addressing that is the Safaricom sale and the debt repayment. You know, right now the government is selling 15% stake in the Safaricom for roughly, that is, to 4 billion to manage debt, and also they believe it's going to bring infrastructure.
Yes.
And generally, if we would look at this, you know, according to, are we selling that it's a 15% stake?
Selling them so that we keep on milking the profit that comes from our big shareholding. This is also happening with the Kenya pipeline, and I think it's something that the government needs to rethink. It needs to invite experts on in a kind of a platform, and have them discuss this issue before they conclude on such matters. Because I think we have other avenues through which we can settle our debts. For example, we have enough mineral resources. Why are we not exploring what is beneath our Earth's surface? Instead of selling our shares, probably we have some rich minerals. We did oil exploration once. We've never revisited that.
Can you say you don't want to go the hard way?
We should go the hard way. We shouldn't just remain soft and sell what we already have. Why don't we explore more and see what more can we get out of our rich country? We need to look at areas like tourism. We have the best kind of environment, the best combination of wildlife. And I think we only need to spike our tourism. We need to advertise it more. We need to sell Kenya outside Kenya and make sure that we increase the number of tourists that come to our country. That will will make us settle our debts easily, more than selling what we already have. And I feel as regards tourism, we also need to reduce our bureaucratic procedures. I've witnessed in a number of moments where tourists come to our country, they are forced to queue for several hours just to do the logistic of a bit of checking, security clearance and all that. Should we better that, such that a tourist only spends 3 to 4 minutes at the gate for clearance, or even less than that? Once we ease that particular process, we are going to be more inviting to our foreign tourists, and we also need to increase the local tourism. I was surprised when KWS gave us an offer to visit our our national park here in Nakuru. I could get witnesses from several areas saying, hey, I've never known that we have such a facility in Nakuru.
Exploring
we need to explore where else can we get money the hard way, not just looking at Safaricom and Kenya Pipeline. I don't think that that is the best way. And still, again, I wish to invite the economists, the experts in that particular area, to have a sitting, to have a forum, to sit with the leadership of this particular country, to sit with the treasury and see the best way forward. And
you have said, and actually you have mentioned something, they opted for a private sale to Vodacom, rather than the IPO, and they believe it's to avoid crashing the market. So does this affect the confidence to the public on how the public assets are being handled?
It does. How? It does, because if what we already have, and look at how long we've created the Safaricom, how long has it taken since its inception and where we are at this particular moment? We should appreciate that it has taken the energy of men and women of this particular country to bring Safaricom to where it is. Instead of hurrying to such sales, we should look at even how to reward those people who have been growing it. And if it was an open LPO, just like they have been doing to the others, where it's the Kenyans themselves, we already know the buyers. We know that the buyers are local Kenyans, well-to-do, wealthy guys, well-to-do companies in Kenya. We would be comfortable with that. But selling it to a company outside our country, where will be the benefits? Where will the benefits go?
And talking about the benefits, the government mentioned that one of the benefits that they'll be getting, or what Kenyans will be receiving, number one, is debt servicing. And I want to ask, with over 70% of the revenue going to debt servicing, and can you see that the 24 billion is going to create a breathing room for the Kenyan citizen, that we should expect taxes may go down?
Not necessarily. Taxes may go down, but that will be a political move, because if the debts remain as they are, we need to address that issue of debts and more borrowing. If we cut on borrowing and say, well, we tighten our belts a little bit, we live within our means, I'm surprised. The president gave a direction, or a directive, that we should cut on government expenditure, and I'm surprised. I don't know. He needs to be firm on the directive that he gave, because that alone was saving this country a big deal. The several offices are spending more than they are budgeted to do. If we continue doing that, we are going to burden Kenyans even more, because certainly the debts will have to be settled, and the only way to settle those debts will be through squeezing more money out of the Kenyans' pockets.
So it's possible this 4 billion may just be a short-term boost.
It will be a short-term boost. Hearing and listening to the experts in that particular field, they are not comfortable that that money will settle our debts.
Okay. So it feels there is more that we need to be done when it comes to the aspect of accountability. And don't forget, corruption is a disease in our country.
Definitely. Actually, I've not had enough of fight against corruption. The little that has been done is we congratulate and commend the government, but we expect more in this particular field of fighting graft. We are at a moment where we're still talking about ghost schools, ghost hospitals, ghost here and there, ghost employees and all that. Why is corruption still thriving, especially under the leadership of William Ruto? I believe he is a firm man that who gives directions and they live to be followed. I think we need to see more in this particular field of fighting corruption.
All right. And talking about that, let's talk about, you know, because after they talked about that is the 2 or 4 billion, we saw this week that he is Mbadi was talking, now that is the Treasury CS, he was talking about the development or the implementation of the NHIF, that is the NHIF, National Infrastructure Fund, and he was saying that he is part of the dream to Singapore by formation of that, and they believe that that National Infrastructure Fund aims to mobilize approximately, that is 5 million for mega projects like SGR. And now the question is this: Singapore is built on displaying high national savings and everything, and given our current rate here, GDP, current debt to the GDP ratio, is the Singapore dream realistic, even if we copy what they have, like NHIF?
Well, the Singapore dream is a good dream by the President of the Republic of Kenya, but we need first of all to look at other dreams that we have dreamed before, and we've not realized them. We had a very good program under CDF, County Development Fund. How well has this fund been utilized? If we already have an operational fund that we are struggling with, we still have corruption cases coming along CDF. The management of that particular fund still has questionable utilization. I think we need to be serious with what we have done before we think seriously about this Singapore the Singapore dream and the national you've got it, National Infrastructure Development Fund. It is a good dream. It is well thought of, but the implementation, the operationalization of that particular fund requires brainy men and women of this particular country, and people who are of good repute, people whose integrity is not questionable, because we have had several of such before. But how they have been mismanaged, how they have run down the economy, it leaves a lot to be questioned. And I think well, it's a good dream, but before it's operationalized, let us first of all seal the loopholes that we have seen with the other previously developed funds.
And it feels like it's a copycat, because they say the identity or the inspiration of it's from the Singapore Sovereign Fund. Okay, so does it feel like a copycat?
I don't think actually Kenya should equate itself to Singapore. Singapore is a very small country compared to our country Kenya. We only need to manage our resources better and with a lot of integrity. If we do so, we will surpass the Singapore dream by far. But let's not copy paste like you're saying. Let's not just look at what they did. Let's look at our situation. Let's look at our prevailing circumstances and do it better. Do it even better than they did. Otherwise, the Singapore dream may just remain a dream. Yes.
And talking about that is the National Infrastructure Fund and everything, because they are planning for about that is 5 trillion ukiangalia in projects, in many projects. Don't forget, we're having people in our country, they are struggling to fund basic needs like health and education. So is there a possibility or a risk that you're building first world roads, you know, for a third world population that cannot afford to, you know, finance it?
Well, I listened to our dear president when he was talking about all this, and part of his speech, he talked about the sources of funds that we receive through borrowing. We borrow from China, we borrow from other countries,
Japan,
and he was asking, how do these countries that we borrow from manage to have extra that they can give to our country? And he looked at the contributions that Kenyans give, maybe to NSSF, NHIF and the likes, and he was looking at it 60 years back, that for a long period of time we have not revisited the figures that we do as contributions as Kenyans, and even our savings, talk of NSSF and the like. Should that figure be increased because we've grown? Even the mothers union groups that are in our various villages, initially they used to contribute 200 shillings. Today each gives maybe 1,000 shillings every month. We need to relook at our mode of saving. How are we? What is our culture in saving? So that if we can manage to save a certain amount of money instead of borrowing from countries who have saved, because for them, we are borrowing from their savings. Why can't we save ourselves instead of relying on borrowing all through? The same thing is with the Singapore dream. Let us be keen on utilizing what we already have in a better manner than just dreaming of how to borrow more, how to save more, how to extract more from the Kenyans' pockets to do more. You've talked of the kind of roads, the kind of infrastructure that we are envisaging. What about what you already have? Are we like currently we have devolved units? How best our devolved units utilizing their already segregated funds? They are talking of the various committee, the COG, that is all the governors have sat down and thought of having an increased allocation to the various counties up to 415 billion. Are we utilizing those funds properly? Because if we utilize these funds properly and during the right weather, for example here in Nakuru, I'm saying that this is the season that we are doing our roads. Good enough, because we have very good weather. We can now grade, we can now maram, we can now farm our roads during such a weather. You can imagine counties where roads are done during the rainy season and they will have to be redone later on. That is a poor utilization of government resources. And it's one of the national values and principles of good governance that is entrenched in Article 10 and Article 232 of our Constitution, that those who are given leadership platforms, they should utilize government resources well, equitably, with equity and without discrimination. Talking about equity and discrimination and everything when it comes to management of finances, we saw there's a report that was released, I think yesterday. There are places, you know, in the semi-arid areas where students have not yet gone to school since last year, June. And you've not seen the government acting on it. Some schools are wanafunzi wendi shule because they don't have food. And don't forget, last year, January, the government set aside some funds for such kind of crisis, floods and droughts. Why can't we see that money being utilized? I think just like it was in the 10-point agenda that the Secretary General of ODM highlighted once he was in one of the media stations, we need to revisit. And amongst those agendas was fully devolution of devolved units. Education is one of the units that were partially devolved. We only had the ECD peoples and ECD learning at our county governments and also vocational training. But it's high time that we devolved those units fully to the counties, so that the counties are held responsible for the devolved funds that are that get to their counties but fail to be utilized in the right purposes. Why should we have students learning under trees in this particular century? Why should we have counties that have not constructed any classroom ever since devolution started in 2013? I believe we need to hold governors, hold their senators responsible and accountable for loss and even diversion of funds that were meant for utilization in construction of schools. It is. It is sheer ignorance. And indeed, I wish to request the President of the Republic of Kenya, the authorities that are in there, the organizations that are meant to do oversight, that they move and with speed and make sure that they arrest those situations. Let us not have counties that are hosting students from other counties that have hardly constructed a single classroom. It is high time education got devolved so that we hold those counties responsible. And talking also on finances and the education sector, you know, the funny thing, actually it's a question, most of the times budgeting inafanywa June, right? So if budgeting is done on June, it means that by the time tunafika January kufungua shule, expect that all the funds should be disbursed in schools. Exactly. But why have we been experiencing or witnessing late allocation of funds when it comes to schools? This is what we are talking about. Those officers charged with the responsibility of running these schools and charged with the responsibility of dispersing these funds at the right time. They should sit back and realize how they are damaging, or rather how they are killing the education sector by just sitting on funds that they were supposed to release at the right time. It is sad at this particular century that students go to school, the headmasters there will only have been left with the only one option, calling the parents who are already so much downtrodden by the economic status of within our country, to squeeze much more from their pockets so that they can sustain schooling in their various institutions. I think it's a high time that we held people responsible, we held people accountable for an remito of funds that have already been budgeted for and set aside for schooling purposes. So that we kill that particular culture of students going to school with to schools that have not received their capitation. Yet the capitation was read to us loudly during the budget making process. It is not, unless they tell us, but maybe Waziri Ogamba should tell us, is he creating, is he growing our schools, or he is killing them? It is sad that to date, we are hearing of ghost schools. We are hearing of ghost students. That the name is register that was capturing our students, captures names of non-existing students. What are we doing? What are we doing about the officers who are in charge of such institutions? It is high time we held them accountable. If we do so, I'm sure the officers that will be hired after them will be responsible, will be accountable, and will manage the schools better and the funds better.
Yeah, I agree. And we have that is 5 minutes. As we wind up, let's talk about the agriculture sector and the trade protectionism, let me call it that, because it's something that tumeona recently. The High Court ordered the state to buy that is local rice before allowing that is further duty-free imports to protect farmers from Moya and different places. And you know, my question is, the court had to compel that is the state from buying rice outside, had to compel that is the state to buy rice from its own people. But why was the government's first instinct to often import rice rather than to support the local supply chain?
I do believe there are some saboteurs in the government, those who do not follow even the directives that come from our president. He was very categorical that before we move outside to buy any food commodity, we should first of all buy from our local farmers, be it maize, be it wheat, be it rice. And if you can remember, in the previous regime, the government pumped a lot of money in construction of dams. Talk of Dhiba Dam in Kirinyaga, is it in Moya, where they increased their rice production twofold. Why increase rice production, then end up importing from outside? We are killing our local farmers by so doing. And I think it's a high time. And I thank the courts for having been firm and following up the directive that was given by the executive. I wish Parliament would follow suit. The executive is firm on importation of food products until we exhaust our whatever we have from our farms. The executive does that. The courts, the judiciary follows up and takes firm steps like they did. And Parliament operationalizes the regulations and the laws that govern and protect our farmers from such losses.
Okay. And in addition to that, you know, the funny thing, the government, some of the leaders like Sema, the reason as to why they're importing rice from outside is because they find foreign rice cheaper than what we have in our country. What can you say about that? No,
we should, before we even evaluate the prices of rice outside the country, we should look at how we can increase our productivity to lower the prices locally. And I appreciate the construction of dams that were done by the previous regime. And I believe, because President William Ruto has been very categorical on the number of dams that he intends to construct in the country within this the particular time he will be in leadership. I think it's a high time that we all concentrated on the construction of these dams, especially in those rice growing zones, so that we can lower the prices locally. Once we do that, our farmers will be happy, our families will be well fed, and will not enrich foreign countries buying from them. Probably this rice importation is through a cartel that is just enriching themselves vis-a-vis, or rather against the will of the farmers.
And as we wrap up, how does this buy local mandate align with our commitments to regional trade agreements as a country?
I think I've been following our Minister for Industrialization, Banali Kenyanjui. They have been very categorical on how to expand our trade treaties, how to make them better and more friendly to Kenya. And I think before we even do that, the first thing is, first of all, to increase our productivity so that we can harness our export market. Because when we were badly hit by COVID, we witnessed areas or moments where the strength of our shilling was weakened against the dollar. And we were told by the experts that the only way we can harness and strengthen our shilling is through our export industry. And how do we improve our export industry if it is not via increasing our productivity, making it better, making it organic? Because again, we have been hit severely, especially by our export markets, where we utilize so much inorganic fertilizers, such that when our produce gets to the international markets, it's rejected on the basis that it is not organic, or there could be possibility of contamination. I think, and I appreciate the progressive county governments that we have had, especially here in Nakuru. We had Kenodia Buga, we had Lee Kenyanjui, and now we have Susan Kehika. And their excellencies have been very categorical and very pushy in terms of revamping the growth of pyrethrum. Why pyrethrum? Pyrethrum and the pyrethrin that is used in production of our local pesticides has been proven that crops that are grown and cultivated using pyrethrin as their only pesticide have found very acceptable markets outside our country. And I think this is an area that we all need to concentrate our efforts in and ensure that this particular produce, at the moment there is a little bit of some shakiness, but we need to get into our feet and make sure that the revamping of this particular growth and the processing of the same is well harnessed in our county.
That's really nice. And that is how, let's put a pen on this conversation, because I believe there is more and more that we can discuss on the matters that are affecting our country.
Sure.
And let me say thank you, a big thank you for helping us navigate through these complex waters of what is happening in our country. And we are really honored.
Thank you.
And for our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in for this segment that is Beyond the Headline, where we help you understand what is happening in our country and other things that are shaping our nation. Well, thank you so much. My name is Angela Kabete. Till next time, may God bless you abundantly. Bye-bye.